By now, the dust has settled over this new set of Drake releases. Iceman, the album, is what we are going to be talking about today. I think it's a very interesting, whether you're into hip hop or not, whether you listen to Drake or Kendrick Lamar or any of these artists. I think there is a lot for us to learn in kind of a what to do, what not to do with our own creativity, whether you are just a small sort of no-name creator, you just have hobbies that you're really into. I actually think there is a lot for us to unpack. So stay to the very end of the video to hear those ideas. So I want us to look at the very first song on this new Drake Iceman album. But before we do, we need to go back in time to May 3rd, 2024, when Kendrick Lamar released his sort of final song, an official song in the battle. It was basically his closing out. He released a song called Meet the Grams, and it was him closing out. For him, what he was doing was communicating to Drake, to his family members as well, basically how awful of a person he is, how awful of a person Drake is. And there's this hypocrisy that was coming to light. I think for a lot of people realizing, wait, Drake kind of represents himself as one thing, but over here he's doing these other things, and he's inconsistent in his music and his lifestyle. And Kendrick was kind of bringing that to light. And so I think that's a good framework for how we can understand Drake's response 2 years later. So essentially, Kendrick ended the last line of his last song in the battle, and it went like this. He said, "You lied about the only artist that can offer you some help. F a rap battle, this a long life battle with yourself." Essentially boiling it all down to, hey, yeah, you've got problems with this rap battle that we're in right now, but you have a lifelong battle with yourself. And because you're not dealing with those things that are kind of at a soul level, you're not dealing with the internal parts of you, you're gonna have to deal with those for the rest of your life. The juxtaposition here for Kendrick Lamar is that he has done the work, and we're gonna get into that line later. This idea of like digging deeper. Kendrick has done the work. You go back and listen to other projects that he's done where he is recognizing his failures. He's recognizing his past and how he has failed and owning up to those things and then moving forward. Drake is kind of unable to do that in a lot of ways. So it's essentially a direct response from Drake for having been called out for his immaturity. The intro to the Iceman album is kind of the only song that directly goes at this idea, whereas the other songs of the album just kind of move. In a lot of ways, they're moving on to just the normal stuff that Drake talks about in his albums. So in a way, it kind of contradicts. The first song contradicts the rest of the album, which is very interesting. Okay, so we're going to look at this song called Make Them Cry, 3 different sections of lyrics. He's talking about, in this line, he's talking about his co-collaborator, the guy who he co-started his label with, 40, talking about what 40's saying to him. So basically, this is the line that Drake says, basically he's saying, I got growing up to do. I gotta dig deep. I really hate those 2 words. They never bring peace. As Drake is kind of unpacking, hey, I have been going through it. I do have some problems. And my closest friend is telling me I got to dig deep. And even those words do not bring peace, right? This idea that it kind of reflects what Kendrick Lamar brought up in the battle, which was, hey, like you've got some work to do on yourself. And Judge Drake is recognizing that, but seemingly it's not working out for him. Okay, so let's go on. Later in the song, Drake says, what died back in 2024 was a big piece. So it's like, this shit is me, but it isn't me. Y'all keep on asking me what it did to me. That's what it did to me. When I dig deep, they say dig deeper. Tell us how it felt to meet the Grim Reaper. A lot to unpack in this. Obviously, what died back in 2024 was a lot. He feels like he's not himself anymore, which is very interesting. So even how he's carrying himself forward, he doesn't feel whole. He can't reconcile the person that he is today and the person that he was back during the rap battle, which is very interesting. And people are saying, hey, what are you okay? What happened? And he's like, no, I feel like two different people. That's what happened, which is wild. This is crazy. So then he's saying, so when I dig deep, this is later in the song, right? He had already said, hey, 40's telling me to dig deep. So when I dig deep, they say dig deeper. And then tell us how it felt to meet the Grim Reaper. And in that, he's referencing Kendrick. Kendrick is the Grim Reaper, the boogeyman, the one who put his old self to death, apparently, because he's got this version of who he is today, the version that he was back then. And he can't, those like are split pieces of him. And that no matter what, he says, dig deep, people say dig deeper. Either he's recognizing the work that he is doing, if he's doing any work on himself, is not enough to be recognized by other people, or it's not satisfying the people that are around him, or he has people that are pushing him and he's not, however you want to look at that, there is a part of him that is unwilling to accept the broken parts of himself. There's aspects that he's just unwilling to go. He's unwilling to go there. Dig deep. I'm not gonna dig even deeper. I'm not gonna go further. And so it's just interesting. I think for all people, we always have work to do, and our willingness to do that work for ourselves, especially as creatives, is huge. So let's keep going. There's a line later where I'll read it. So people want to talk about a battle. I'm battling patience. I battle frustration. I'm about to turn 40, dog. I'm battling aging. I'm battling the fact that the album ain't even dropped and already they asses complaining. Screw it. I'll battle the label. Screw it. I'll battle the majors. I'll battle the stations till my ass is back in rotation. So I think that line there is so interesting, and I don't know how intentional this is. Because obviously he's saying, it's like, you want to talk about a battle, I'm battling patience. And this is a direct, response, it feels like, to Kendrick Lamar's final words on Meet the Grams. Forget a rap battle. This is a lifelong battle with yourself. So he's acknowledging those aspects. I'm battling patience, frustration. He's battling aging. He's going to be 40 this year in October. He's battling all of these people who haven't even heard the album yet, and they're complaining. He hasn't even dropped it. And then he's over it. So he's like, screw it. I'll battle the label. As we know, he has sued his own label for defamation. I'll battle the majors. I'll battle the stations until I'm back in rotation on the radio. His radio play has fallen tremendously. So there are all of these things that he is acknowledging here that he's battling. All of these things that he is dealing with. And it's actually quite profound. It's actually like a moment for him to acknowledge these things. Now, in this song, he isn't necessarily saying, like he's talking about the challenges that he is facing. He talks about his dad is battling cancer, his family members being like, basically having to father his own father, father his own mother. I forget the exact lines, but talking about his parents who have aged and the challenges that come with that. And so he's recognizing these things, but he's not quite owning up to any mistakes that he's made. He's just sort of acknowledging, man, this is where I've been at. This is what is so difficult. So it is totally fascinating to me how he is dealing with this. And this is just the first song. Unfortunately, we go through the rest of the album and there really isn't any substance or moments where he is actually grappling with his own soul. He's grappling with this lifelong battle. There are moments where he's recognizing things. Maybe he's calling out Kendrick, not by name, or he's calling out other artists, other people who he feels have wronged him. But for the most part, this is just kind of the tried and true Drake that we've had for quite a while. Is him talking about his money, talking about women, talking about partying, talking about his lifestyle, and just the life that he is able to live and how great he is. And there is no real reconciling with this hypocrisy of who he, proclaims to be in all of these other songs, and the actual battle that is going on in his own life in this first song. The first song really contradicts the rest of the album. It's a cool setup, it's a cool intro, but then the rest of the album is just, hey, let's move on from that as quickly as we can, which I don't know why. I don't know why he's doing that. I'm not going to try to psychoanalyze or explain, but to me, it's just fascinating. There are examples that we can kind of see on the opposite side where Kendrick has done the work. He was digging deeper into his own soul, doing that work, doing the work, as they say. And, he's been able to respond to controversy. So, for example, during the battle, Drake made an accusation against Kendrick's wife, saying that Kendrick's wife, Whitney, she basically has an illegitimate child with Kendrick's business partner. And how did Kendrick respond to that? Did he respond to that directly with words? Did he say, no, that's not true? The way he responded with that was through putting his wife and children in a music video where they're dancing and laughing and being joyful together. That was his response to that. Kind of an opportunity to say, hey, Drake, you're painting this picture. Here's a visual of the reality of my life. That either this accusation is not true, or at the very least, like, hey, we're good. Me and my family are good, regardless of the past. We've done the work, and this is where we are today, and we're happy and joyful. One of the issues with Drake's ability to be relevant and be, I'm not talking about numbers necessarily, because he's relevant certainly when it comes to streaming numbers. I've heard it put this way, that Drake is a byproduct of the culture, and Kendrick is part of the culture. So essentially, Drake is a product. He's not in. He's just an observer of the culture of hip hop. And so he desperately wants to be included. He desperately wants to do that. And so he'll do anything. And so Drake actually called him out and called him a colonizer. He's stealing. And this idea of a colonizer, right? So taking something that isn't yours, claiming it to be yours, is so fascinating, because the very album cover of Iceman is the Michael Jackson glove. Drake is doing a few things here. He is sort of trying to make that connection, like, hey, I'm the new Michael Jackson, or I am as relevant, or I am greater than Michael Jackson. He's made those claims as well, as far as numbers and all of those things. But it is so tone deaf. There's so much hypocrisy here to have your album cover be a symbol of colonization, to be a symbol of taking something that isn't yours. And obviously he didn't steal it. He didn't literally steal. He bought it. He bought this glove, but it's not yours. This isn't your symbol. This represents something that is yours. This represents an American icon, and you are not an American. You are not an icon in the same way. And so I think it's just so fascinating. There's a lot of hypocrisy that where Drake might say, hey, no, that's not true. But then he's proving the point in his own songs, in his own album artwork, the way that he is representing himself. There is just so much hypocrisy. So what can we learn from this, right? We are creatives. We are unknown names. We're regular people. Maybe you have a hobby as a painter, or you're a writer. Whatever you do, whatever your creative endeavor is, there's something here for us. So I think the biggest takeaway is acknowledging where in our own life have we not confronted ourselves? How are we not able to show up and be honest? I think our ability to be honest is going to make us better artists, for one, and it's going to allow us to show up in front of our audience and be authentic. So let's say you put a piece of art out into the world. You create something and it's out in the world. Maybe people see it, people recognize it, all that. There is an opportunity when people have an opinion that is negative. Maybe we're actually being attacked in some way. When you are not able to be honest with yourself, maybe you're not connected with your own self, and then your art, therefore, is coming from a place of, it's lacking authenticity. I think people are able to lob attacks at that that can actually stick and actually can have like staying power. They might sense, and your audience might sense, that there is a disconnect between you and your art, or there's some lacking of truth. There's some hypocrisy there. Whereas if we can do the work, and I think Kendrick Lamar is a great example of someone who is not a perfect person, is not incapable of flaws or incapable of being critiqued, but is someone who owns his flaws and is able to represent himself honestly to the public. I think when we are doing the work, when we are actually digging deep, doing the soul work, the inner work for ourselves, we're going to be way better artists. We are going to be amazing creatives. We can actually have an impact that will stay. We can have an impact on people. And again, it's not about numbers. It's not about, did this many people see my work? Did this artwork sell? Did, whatever it is, do people know who I am? Am I famous? It has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with your ability to say, this is who I am. This is what my art is, or this is where my art comes from. And this is how I'm representing myself or my creativity to the world. That is what we can learn from this. I think it is more important than making a fire album or an album that sells the most, making some art and being creative in a way that reaches people. That's great. That's cool. If you become famous from your art, incredible. Good job. But we have to be owning our work, especially if you are going to get famous one day. It's better to work on it now, when you're not famous, when you're not known, when you're not successful. So anyways, those are just my thoughts. I'd love to know if this topic, how this lands with you. What are your thoughts on kind of this Drake versus Kendrick analysis? Do you think I'm being harsh on Drake? Do you think this is accurate? Does all of this not matter to you? And you were just interested in maybe the analysis afterwards? I'd love to know all of that, how this lands with you. My name is Tristan, and I am passionate about helping creatives connect with themselves and their own creativity. I believe each of us have been given unique God-given gifts, and it's just incredible how we can show up. I think the world needs your art specifically. No one can create the art that you can create. So we need you. We need your creativity. I think this is just such a fun topic. I am such a nerd when it comes to some of this hip hop stuff, and so fascinating to see some of the online conversations around these. Some reactions are just that, they're a reaction and they're not very thoughtful. I tried to make something that was a bit more thoughtful. There's a lot of people online that are doing that as well. Thanks again for watching, and stay creative.